What is up YouTube, and welcome to this Trial of the Chicago 7 video review. Now this is the latest movie from Aaron Sorkin, one of the best screenwriters of all time. He has written two of my favourite movies of all time, Moneyball and The Social Network, both of which focus very heavy on the protagonist seeing out their vision, and this is a kind of trope of his work more recently. And The Trial of the Chicago 7 is almost a return to his ensemble cast of The West Wing and courtroom drama of the now iconic A Few Good Men, with that unforgettable line. This time it is all about social justice and the state trying to quash the freedom of speech and assembly, something so very apt in these turbulent times of today. It follows a group who were arrested after a protest against the war in Vietnam and wanted to protest at the Democratic National Convention of 1968 and their presidential candidate. Now, what I liked about this, and of course it is historical fact, but it follows two or three very distinct groups. You have the idealist and student activist Tom Hayden, played by Eddie Redmayne, who is, in my opinion, one of the standouts here in the movie, and he is against Abby Hoffman, a superbly serious Sacha Baron Cohen, and I have to say, I'm very excited for Borat 2 coming out next week. These two are not only facing off against the state in a trial they have absolutely stacked against them, but they're facing off against each other for the ideals of how to try and make social justice work in a world where it doesn't seem like it will ever work. Hayden wants to at least get elected to make change, while Hoffman is the hippie anarchist who wants to burn down the system. It essentially mirrors today without even being preachy or pretentious. It shows how the left do wild things and are then seen as weird or scary, only for those candidates to never become electable and thus never being able to change things. It's happened with Jeremy Corbyn and Bernie Sanders, two great men who are sadly unelectable because they're perceived as too wacky and out there for the rest of society, and unfortunately the left is too wacky to be elected, which is a total shame. Now, these two ideals are really the centre conflict of the movie, with the oppressive state and the divisive war in Vietnam simply being a glorified narrative device to tell this really gripping story, and it's really the two leftist ideals at war against each other and how to proceed with trying to make change in a very turbulent world. This is what makes the movie far more interesting than simply a group going against the government, but the tactics of the violent protest and playing into the oppressor's hands being debated among those who really want change. It is a debate that's happening and has happened this summer against Black Lives Matter protests, as there was the argument that rioting, looting and arson and the protests kind of ruined the public perception of the change that was so very needed in America. Now, the whole movie kind of stemmed, and I like the fact that it stemmed from a very petty argument, with Michael Keaton's character Ramsey Clark. He insulted the next Attorney General by resigning only an hour before his successor was sworn in. In real life, Ramsey Clark was a heavy civil liberties activist, and his successor, who we saw in the movie, was very heavily in support of the Vietnam War due to being part of Nixon's campaign, and was also actually sent to prison as part of the whole Watergate scandal. And I did like the fact that we had the ideals, we had people wanting change, and it really did just come down to politicians playing politics and games at a high level, but not realising that the real people who suffer are the real people, the electorate. The group were all lumped together in a Conspiracy Act law that was used to restrict the freedoms of black people in the South, but used here to say each group are guilty of conspiring together to organise the riot. At the start, I did find it jarring that we had the build-up and it went right into the trial, and it took quite a while for the flashbacks to come in and for us to learn what happened in Chicago. But thinking back on it, like usual kind of movies like this, where it's the good versus the bad, we don't really know that the defendants are innocent of the charges here and are just being made an example of. However, here, right until the end, we had no idea that they were completely, truly innocent of all the charges and how they were pressed into doing what they did. and they were kettled in by the police. Now, Sorkin does a great job increasing the tension, as not only do the tactics of the court and the prosecutors increase, but also so does Hayden's dream of a decent organised protest. It gets dashed as the accounts of what happened progress from the corrupt officials in charge and sent to kind of infiltrate this group. It's a nice hand-in-hand story showing the government how they exacerbated this the whole time. Parts of the movie did almost fall into a farce, as I felt too much time was spent on the judge constantly becoming a sort of satire at parts, which in my opinion reduced his role to almost comic relief at times, instead of a serious threat to civil liberties, as at the start he's bumbling and flits between that and menace. However, the menace from the judge is almost reserved exclusively for Bobby Seale, whose actor portrayed a raw emotion, something I haven't seen on screen for a very, very long time, and is the single most important civil rights leader in history in the courtroom. And he, of course, was very underused. At times I wish he was the main focus of the movie instead of Hayden and the hippies, as he had a more interesting and raw story to tell. The gagging scene was tough to watch, as we see a principled, educated man be treated like that simply because of the colour of his skin, and Yahya is one of the best actors working today in my opinion. And while the comic relief from Sacha was funny, he was great when he really shone as an authentic character away from the pantomime of the court. And I get his character wanted to be a showman for the attention, but as they've no money, but when Sacha is given the material to clash head to head with Hayden, I was very impressed. Now, Sorkin does the story of a man against the system very well, like The Social Network, which is hilarious how that actually turned out, and Moneyball, and even the Steve Jobs movie, which didn't click with me. But to see him head into Oliver Stone territory is as seeing a man use his immense skill and talent for good. Overall, I haven't seen a better movie this year. It's a ride and a half with tension ramping up to the very end, and the manipulation of the viewer's emotions are very well crafted. While Tenet and The Five Bloods were great, here I was gripped just a bit more, with the performances being on another level and the pacing being almost perfect. I'd love to hear what you guys think down in the comments. Did you enjoy the movie? What did you think of it? And I would love to know what you want me to cover next on this channel. But if you're interested, please do drop a like down below on the video, and please do subscribe with notifications on so you never miss a video, and I will see you soon, and goodbye.